My name is Donna Beelich. I am the National Scholarship Committee Chair. I do roll off this year. This is my last year. So you will be working with an entire new team next year. But we wanted to, and hopefully most of you are interested in putting in for an application. This will be one of the easiest ones that you have ever applied for. It doesn't tend to be very long with the amount of information that you have to provide. But the whole purpose is to provide funds for you to do something, for you to increase your knowledge, for you to take a tour with maybe a group of other fellow extension workers, or maybe it's with the chamber or somebody else, and you're going to need some funds to help you get there besides what the university is providing you, or maybe another organization, that type thing. So the way that this works is that the funding is not coming directly from the scholarship committee, but it is funneled through the Educational Foundation. And this is a corporation, a nonprofit corporation that is embedded in with NACAA. And there are educational funds that are used for many other opportunities, not just the scholarship. So this is just one route. After we get through with the committee judging the scholarships, ranking them, and seeing who we feel like is has written a good application, given good justifications, that type thing, and is worthy, then we bring that to the foundation, and they look it over and say, yes, okay, we are willing to fund these applicants. So although we as the committee are the deciding factors associated with that, it does have to go through and get approved, just because the funding can be $30,000 or $40,000. Now, you know, everybody says, well, how do you get on this foundation committee? In the past, most of them have been past NACAA officers. So that's generally the way that you get on that committee. And most of the time it serves between 4 and 6 years. So it's not a small commitment. And you see that it is not just those who have retired from extension, but are currently active within extension. So the foundation is basically made up of us. It is not going to be somebody that knows nothing about extension or what you do. So I wanted to introduce, because I'm going to stop my screen share and move on each of our committee vice chairs. We have in the Western region, we have Thomas Dominguez from New Mexico. He is going to talk about the application criteria. And so then we are going to move on to Adele. She is the North Central Region Vice Chair, and she is going to hit on how you fill out this online application, where you go to, how you fill it out. So that's going to be Adele. Then we will move into the Northern region with Stephen, and he is going to hit on the timeline or the process, how it moves through each of from the state all the way to the judging on the national end. And then we're going to move to the Southern region, which is Sherry. She's going to share with you some of the experience reports that some of the people have put in over the last 2 years, and share with you the other expectations after you get through with your trip, your tour, your educational experience, what happens after that, how you get reimbursed, and what is expected with the experience report. So that's Sherry down there at the bottom. And that's me in the center. So we will move on, and I am going to stop screen sharing and move it on to Thomas.
Okay, here I go. Let's see. From beginning. There we go. Okay, can everybody hear me? Good, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm Tom Dominguez. As Donna said, I'm joining you from the nice sunny state of New Mexico, Santa Fe, as a matter of fact, our state capital. Here's my email address if any of you have any questions, and I'll also share that with you here towards the end of the presentation. And I am tasked with covering scholarship criteria, plus I'll cover a little bit of the other stuff that Donna mentioned, which your speakers today, your presenters today, will elaborate on a little more. So when I was looking at the criteria list on the website, I kind of went through it and had wanted to sort it out. So it's not sorted in this order, but I thought for me as somebody wanting to apply or wanting to know the criteria, I'm going to group them into what's important, the first things I want to know, kind of what the middle thing, information that I need to know, and then what happens towards the end and a little bit of the resources. First of all, June 1st is the deadline for submission, has to be filled out and by June 1st, and then forward it to or let your state scholarship chair know, because they have to approve that, check that off electronically, so it goes to the next stage of judging. Membership investment is $40 for $1,000 eligibility, $100 for $1,001 to $2,000 eligibility. I don't know any other stock or bond or any investment that returns that kind of return. So it's a great bang for your buck to invest in, and of course investing in your own professional development is, pays back in priceless amounts. Investment must be made by the end of the last year's annual meeting, Professional Improvement Conference. That's what AMPIC stands for. I had to look that one up a little bit. Applicants must be an NACAA member for the past 2 years in good standing with your respective organization, state organization. So those are the main things that I want to know, that you should know before applying, okay? Award categories are both, you can apply as an individual or as a group, and covers advanced degrees, graduate credits. You need a few more credits to finish your master's. New Mexico State University, sometimes we hire a person as an undergraduate who's working on their master's and are tasked to complete their master's within a certain amount of time. Agricultural tours or tours, educational tours, seminars, any kind of research you may be doing, you need a little extra funding, and other training. So just talk to your state chair about other training and what that fits into, okay? The training must begin within 12 months of the AMPIC of when you were approved of that previous year. Study cannot be initiated before application of your approval. So I think once or twice we've had somebody say, well, I'm taking this, I did this tour this past year, or I'm taking these classes this semester. I've already applied and taken the classes in the process of it and wanting to reimburse themselves for this. So that doesn't work. It has to be initiated. A study cannot be initiated before the approval. If date changes, notify your National Scholarship chair. If I think this is towards a best scenario comes to mind is an international trip, that the trip got pushed off, dates got pushed off a little bit. Just let us know, let your National Scholarship chair know what's going on. Communication is the best key to let everyone know what's going on about that. After your award, scholarships will be awarded 30 days prior to the study or the training. For international trips, that's been a little earlier than that. If possible, like I say, just keep your communication lines open to the board and to your chair as to what's going on with your trip, your study. Afterwards, you have to submit a report of 750 to 1,500 words. Also submitted would be the expense documentation and your educational objectives per your application as well. Make sure those coordinate and fit together. Just a bit of the criteria on the form itself. Judging will be based on completeness, the plan you put together, how it was used, and importantly, how are you going to bring this back to your programming efforts, okay, as far as education and availability of funds. Selection is objective, non-discriminatory basis, of course. Recipients will be selected by Scholarship Selection Committee, final approval of trustees, and NACAA Education Fund, as Donna talked about previously. A couple of other things you might want to think of and read about in the criteria list is maximum scholarship is $1,000 per year, a total for $2,000 per your extension career. And that includes if you put in with a group as well. So that's your total for your extension career. No scholarship is awarded as a result of scholarship committee, national board, anybody in that effect benefits from it directly or indirectly. And I don't know of any instances where that has happened. Like I say, just make sure everything's nice and open. Your communication of everything is transmitted to the board, to the state chair and your national chair. Things will be okay. Group applications, all tour members must meet criteria. If one person within a listed group is not eligible, it disqualifies the entire group. So keep that in mind. I think we've had in the past something in that scenario happen. So, of course, just some resources, some websites, the NACAA Scholarship link, our Association County Agricultural Agents national website link as well. Scholarship committee leadership, so you know who your state chair is, who you need to be talking to, who you need to submit the scholarship. And some words of advice is make sure you let them know even beforehand, even before you're going to apply. Talk to your state chair and your regional chair so they'll know that it's coming, or sometimes we can give you a little nudge to encourage you or to remind you to get that done. So we want lots of people to take advantage of this program. There's my contact information and my office number. Free to email me or give me a call. I'll be glad to help anybody anywhere with the process. All right. That sums me up.
Donna, we do have one question. Do you want, and it's kind of related to this, do you want to handle it now?
Okay. So you're monitoring the chat?
Yeah, I just saw it pop up.
Okay, well, if it's something that relates, we can stop. Adele can be screen sharing and we can address whatever the question was.
Right. So I think this fits with criteria is how do I verify the amount of investment I've made in past years? So you want to answer it, Donna?
Well, I know that there is a place on the national site. If I'm thinking about it, okay, so you're going to, on the right-hand side, there's going to be the password and ID. You do that, and then there is a button for, oh, Adele's gonna handle it, so I'm not going to. There she goes. She's doing exactly what.
I wasn't actually going to handle it, but I can talk about it when I get to that point, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I will go back here. All right, so I'm going to talk about how to fill out the online scholarship application form. As Donna mentioned earlier, it's actually relatively short and simple for the return that you get on that investment, as Tom was talking about. So to get there, go to the NACAA website, just nacaa.com, and underneath the awards section, you'll go to scholarships and simply click on that. And then it will bring up this is a screen that it brings up for me as a regional vice chair. And within this section, I'm not exactly sure how it looks for you as individual members, but if I have anyone within my region or others within your region, we can each go in and select the state association and then bring up the members. I did not screenshot this, but if we want to later, I have it pulled up on my web browser and I can go through it, and you can bring up all your members and who's vested at what level, and then we can take a look and see who is eligible for these scholarships. And
so basically what Adele is showing you right there is that you can click on members only, or you can click on this getting into the scholarship awards. And instead of clicking on scholarship applications, which she has circled right there, you're just going to have your state association listed, and you're going to press continue. And I believe that it brings up every individual who has contributed in that state and how much they have. So there you go.
Yep. So then once you know who is eligible, if you're eligible, then you can select the scholarship applications that I do have circled there. And it will take you directly to that electronic application form. Actually, no, it doesn't. It takes you to this screen first. Make sure that you have the right person in there. It should have all of your contact information, and then you can select start a new scholarship application. As we mentioned, it's pretty short. You're going to go through, you're going to indicate your specialty area, what your present position is, how many years you've been in that position. And then this is where you can indicate the type of application that you have, whether it's an individual or it's a group application. And as Thomas mentioned earlier, in the group application, you have to ensure that everybody who is in this group application is eligible. So you'll want to make sure that you check that prior to adding those individuals to the application, which I'll talk about in just a minute. Total amount requested. This can, for an individual application, is $1,000. The group application total amount is going to be dependent on how many people are in that group. You want to make sure you include your total estimated cost of the training or activity, and then any additional funding sources that you have available that are helping you to participate in this activity is included. And then the date is important because, as we mentioned, this needs to occur within 12 months of being awarded the scholarship, and it can't start beforehand. Then the next three sections are where you include the description. So it's really it's describing your plan for training or activity, who's putting on the training, where is it at, what are the dates, if you're going on a tour, what's that itinerary. It helps us to have a good idea of what the training is, and then from there, your justification. So why it's important for you to participate in this activity, what knowledge you're going to gain, and then how you would be able to utilize that in your position within extension throughout the country. And then finally, finances is including a detailed budget to describe how those funds are going to be spent, helping us to be able to make that decision on whether those funds are going to be used in a very positive way for the foundation funds. From here, once you've included that information, which is, filling out those 3 boxes, you'll want to save your application, and then it will bring you to this screen, which is where you can update your group information. So I just put in that I was going to have a group application for this made up application. You would update your group information, select your group members to add, make sure that you get all of their information added. And then the final item is to submit your application. Once you submit that application, it just kind of gives you a full rundown of what's included on that. And then your state chair will receive that. And then, as Thomas said, they need to approve that so that it goes on to regional and national for approval. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Stephen.
Okay. So just a little bit of that's interesting. Thought I done the right thing. There we go. Okay. That's more better. Okay, so we're going to talk about the committee calendar, and I'm going to approach this from 2 different aspects. One is as an applicant, and the other as a committee member, both at the state and somewhat national level. But the focus or the primary thing that we want to share, I'm guessing that many of you have been applicants or are thinking about being applicants. So we want to make sure that you understand the timeline. And Thomas already mentioned it, that the deadline is June 1st for your applying. So, the way I set this up is that it's a little bit more of some words of advice to you. That this is a competitive process. You're essentially competing with other applicants from across the country. So you need to put a fair amount or a great deal of thought and time into the application, even though the application process is pretty straightforward and somewhat simple. What you enter into it is going to be critical. Having served on the selection committee for a couple of years, it's some applications kind of rise to the top because they have the adequate detail, they have a good solid budget, they're showing that the either the individual or the group are contributing or not using the scholarship funds as their sole source of funding this activity or trip or whatever it is. So start thinking. So the bottom line is just to start early. Maybe you've got a great idea now, and we're still a month plus away from June 1st for this year. And so maybe you can put together a really strong application submission for a scholarship. Especially, and I would say it's kind of situational. If you are in grad school, or that you're going to be in grad school starting in the fall of 2021, that's something that is supported pretty well by the scholarship committee. So that would be easy to do. Just make sure that you're detailing again what are you studying. A big thing would be is how much are you contributing, or is your university contributing anything towards the tuition or whatever. So how does what you're getting from the scholarship fit in? So if it's something that's pretty straightforward and and you've got it dialed in and can provide the information, great, go ahead, submit this year. But for where there are a lot of moving parts, I think particularly for like a group event, you may want to start getting your group together and start thinking about 2022, so that especially if you want to do a grant application or a scholarship application, start thinking about it this year, so that then you can put together the best and most convincing scholarship application that you possibly can. So that's just some words of encouragement and advice on it as an applicant. Hopefully maybe we do have some state committee chairs here, either current or I hope aspirant, and that you might consider being a state committee chair. So what does that involve, and how does this whole process work is kind of what my remaining slides are. The thing that I would tell a state committee chair, as a vice chair right now for the Northeast region, is to promote and communicate this scholarship program. We have a lot of wonderful things that our professional organization provides to its membership. And maybe you might think that sometimes they kind of compete with one another for attention, but if you are the state scholarship chair, I really encourage you to think about how can you promote and communicate in your state this wonderful thing that our organization provides, is that a scholarship for our members to be able to do some type of professional development. Not only that, but we aren't really touching on it yet, but we also do raise funds for the Educational Foundation. And so, as state chair, think about working with the state leadership of how you might be able to raise funds to be able to be donated to the Educational Foundation. So a couple ideas there. State meetings are always a great time to promote. Also, maybe to have a silent auction or some type of an event that raises some funds. If your state association has a newsletter or some type of periodical, it doesn't have to be printed, it could be electronic. Think about putting in something a couple, 3 times a year about the scholarship. Right now, as a state chair, this is time that you really should be communicating, making sure that your state members are aware that the deadline for applying for a scholarship is looming. And make yourself available to help, to assist. You certainly can call on your vice chairs and or Donna as a national chair for any assistance or direct any questions that any of us will do our best to answer them. And as Tom mentioned, the deadline is going to be June 1st for their submission, but then the state chair does have to approve them before the vice chair can review and approve them. So really encourage the state chairs to look at those applications as soon after June 1st as they can, first 2 weeks or so. Please try to look at them so that you can approve them, so that then as vice chairs, we can approve them and move them on to the national committee for final selection. And then finally moving on to the national committee. Again, hopefully this is something that you might aspire to, is to serve as a vice chair, maybe even national chair someday for this committee. Again, our role as vice chairs and national chair is to promote and communicate. We want to be in touch with you as a state chair, and be able to have you know that we are there to support you. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to as a state chair, reach out to your regional vice chairs. March, maybe even now, is a good time for a reminder from the vice chairs to the state chairs to be in touch with the state membership to see about who might be interested in putting in a scholarship application. Again, as I just mentioned, after state chairs made approvals, then we are going to move on, that the regional vice chairs will make the approvals. And then at the AMPIC or around that time, the committee does meet, and the vice chairs and the chair do meet, and then we do make the selection. And one thing that I did forget to put on here is that after the AMPIC, sometime early fall, late summer, early fall, is that the vice chair should be in touch with the state chairs to introduce themselves, particularly if there's a change to make sure that are on the get to know one another and be able to have a good conversation or communication between them. So that's pretty much the scholarship, and I will turn it over to Sherry.
You're muted, Sherry.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Okay, can y'all see that? Is it showing up? Because it's not looking. Oh, here we go. Helps if you hit the share button. Okay. So I was kind of tapped to kind of tell you what you can use the money for, what all it can go to, and we kind of titled this "Show Me the Money," because that's what we're all about. We want to try to give away this money, and so it can be used for professional development. So there we go. Okay, so this is how you can use the money, and a little bit about the efforts that we've got going on. So the NACAA Scholarship from 2017 to 2021 has given out over $78,000 for professional development or higher education. Now, I do want to stress that we did award probably more than this, but things happen, life happens, either trips were canceled or last year COVID came in, and you can see for 2020 and 2021, it was kind of significantly less than what it had been in the past, but some of the trips that had been applied for and were actually awarded were canceled. So we have given out more money than that, but that's kind of where we are right now. So we do have some money in our foundation. Just to kind of, again, reiterate what the scholarship can be used for. It can be used for any kind of professional improvement. That can be study tours, conferences, but my understanding is this is not necessarily our NACAA AMPIG, but other type conferences, and I'll show some examples of that. Group tours. So we kind of talked about that you can do this as an individual or as a group of agents that are vested into our program. Graduate with degrees, including a master's or a PhD or some other higher degree. Certification training. Do you want to be certified in something like True Colors or some other kind of certification? Is another opportunity that you can use this scholarship money for. Our possibilities are truly endless. So as long as it kind of fits in that guidelines that we're trying to do professional improvement, to be better agents, to better serve our clientele and our organizations, we're all about it. So just kind of keep that in mind, that even though it may not be listed on here, if it's something that's to help you do your job better, we want to help try to support that. Just to go over some of the examples of some of the scholarships that we have awarded in the past, I'm going to start with an example of our group scholarships. This was a group of agents. It was Stan Moore, Phil Durst, and Phil Katz from Michigan, and they conducted a dairy school in Israel, which I thought was really cool. They were awarded $3,000, and they were actually the instructors for this school, and they hosted 15 U.S. dairy farmers. They had 6 sessions, and those included forage management, feed management, employee management, the U.S. dairy industry, health management, and calf management. So they did have the educational components as part of that. But, you know, if you're going overseas, you also want to try to get something that may not necessarily be a part of your program, but it's of a historical value. So they also did, while they were in Israel and a part of the dairy school, they did the Israeli experience that they went to places like the Sea of Galilee, Nazareth, Caesarea, the Dead Sea, and Jerusalem. And they visited many ruins, churches, and traditional sites that are important events for Christian, Jewish, and Palestinian history. So that was really pretty cool. And these are some of the pictures of some of the things that they did see, both the educational and as part of a historical tour. Another example is some of our individual scholarships. And I dare say that we probably award more individual scholarships than we do group, or at least since I've been on board, that's kind of been the trend. That's not to say that we wouldn't do more groups, but just as a trend, it's kind of the way it has been. Some of the examples that we have done that may not necessarily be listed on this slide, but a group of Ohio agents did a sheep tour in Argentina in 2019, 2020. There was also, that was a group tour. I apologize. That should have been on that last slide. Some of our individual scholarships, Jeff Carter from Vermont wanted to go through the Deer Stewardship Certification Program. So there again, a certification program. Tyrone Fisher went through from North Carolina. He went through it was the Tobacco Coalition, a leadership development program, and we paid for part of that for the year 2021. Cynthia Craig from Virginia attended the American Forage Grassland Conference in Savannah, Georgia. And then Samantha Robinson from Pennsylvania got her master's degree in Homeland Security with a focus of agriculture and biosecurity and food safety defense, which I thought was really cool. I did not even know that was an option, but thought that was very interesting. So like I said, our possibilities are endless. But what we do expect from those who receive the scholarship and actually go through with whatever their intended professional development is, degree, certification, or trip, whatever it is, we do expect them to give us, like Thomas said, a 750 to 1,500 word experience report detailing some of the educational program, if the degree was completed or is still in progress, and just kind of an expense report, a detailed expense of how the money was spent, so that we know that we're utilizing that money like it was intended. At this time, I'm going to turn it back over to Donna, and I think we will answer any questions that we may have. Oh, stop sharing, sorry. Are there any questions?
There are, and Scott answered it in chat, is that the question was, is that what would have been the last date to submit for the 2020 to be vested for this June? And that it was October 1st, or essentially the end of the AMPIC in 2020.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So we've kind of run through very quickly the timeline, but basically the way that it works is that the end of the AMPIC is we stop the recording of donations for that year. You have to have an ending point at some time. So the end of the annual conference is the last day that you can contribute your $40 to $100 or more to the scholarship committee and be eligible in the upcoming years for applying for a scholarship. So if you only have $25 in currently, you are not eligible yet to apply. So get in your money, and you want to get it in before the end of this year's AMPIC, which I believe is July 8th or 9th, and that would make you eligible for next year. So as I says, we always, and of course, that's a rolling date. Last year it was October. This year it's going to be in July. So it's fluid in that respect. So some of the other information that I wanted to impart with you is that you see that the Southern region is topping in recipients. That has nothing to do with any partiality or anything, more members or more, that type thing. It has to do strictly with, they seem to be putting in the bulk of the applications. Now, Texas is really infamous for putting in group applications, and it can be from, and they don't do small groups. It's always 15 to 30 agents. So if each of those agents, if you say 10 agents are eligible for $1,000 and they all asked for $1,000 each, that's $10,000 right there. So that's where you see jumps in the amount that was awarded each year. So the Northeast and the West, y'all get some applications in. I think that it's your time. You can see that 92 agents over the last 4 years have benefited from those scholarships at the amount of $78,000. And the way that you are going to be able to apply in the future, of course, is that you have to have your money contributed before the close of this year's virtual AMPICT. Now that's, as it says, that's going to be July 9th. That's for anybody who hasn't given any money. That's for those who have less than $40. If you have used the scholarship in the past, then up to $1,000, then you have to be up at that $100 contribution to be eligible for that second $1,000. So that's kind of the how we decide where the deadline is each year for the time to contribute. And how do you do that? Well, you can either go to the NACAA.com website. On the left-hand side, you're going to see a donate button. You can do it through PayPal, $40. You can make a check and mail it to Scott directly. He is our executive director, and he will handle it. Make the check payable to the foundation. It's not payable to the NACAA Scholarship. We run our money through them. That's keeping everybody, good and level, and making sure that it's not listed in any individual's name. So all of this information is on the website. We do have a trifold that has gone out. I know that my vice chairs have sent the state chairs in every state the information that they will need to convey to their members. If there is not a state chair listed on the site, that rolls to the president's responsibility. So if the president is being inundated with requests to do things, it's because he doesn't have any committee chairs listed on the national site. That has to be changed every year. So that's where you go to contribute if you haven't already this year. Once again, my scholarship committee is Adele in the North Central, Stephen in the Northeast, Sherry in the Southern, and Thomas in the West. Easy to find us and get information. So the June 1st deadline. Any more questions or concerns? Generally, as far as an individual, whenever I print out the application, most of the time it's 2 to 3 pages. And when it runs into 3 pages, that's mainly because the individual had a conference or a program that they were going to. The agenda was already set. They cut and pasted it on there, and it ended up running it was pretty lengthy. That's fine. You cut and paste as much as what you can. Make it easy on yourself. You're able to do that. The justification of what you're going to use that scholarship for and how it's going to benefit you in your continuing efforts with extension. If you're moving into another field, let us know. Okay, I'm a horticulture person, but I'm looking at wanting to participate in some certification for wildlife. Well, certificate. or cutting up an animal. How does that really benefit me in horticulture? The butchering of an animal. Unless I'm moving into another degree, the committee's not going to know that. Or taking a trip to Africa for a safari. How does that exactly relate to horticulture? You've got to give us something. Now, after you fill it out, the application and punch submit, the state chair will automatically get an email notice. Some of the time that goes into spam or trash. Y'all have all had that happen before. I and all the chairs, the vice chairs, my vice chairs, can go online and see that there's something going on that for some reason the state chair, he has, whoever they are, has 15 days to look that over and hit their submit on their side or accept on their side. And that pushes it forward to the next group of people to review, which are the vice chairs. If we see that that's not happening, we can call and say, hey, have you looked at this? Did you even know that you were the state chair? Congratulations. We can kind of poke people to push them along. We will maybe call you up and ask you to explain something if we're unsure. If we get 50 applications, there's going to be a lot of competition there. And so we will have to, it's kind of like, all right, tell me a little bit more about how this is going to benefit you, or who else is going with you, or what the trip is about, where you're using those funds. If you wanted to drive 1,000 miles when flying would be cheaper, we're going to look at that and say, we'll only give you so much funds because the airfare is $500 cheaper than you driving. So that's what we're going to fund. We don't care if you drive, but you're only getting this other amount. So, and all of that has to, as each of my vice chairs have said, communication is key to getting what you want. We're all extension people. We all want to take nice trips, do that in addition to the educational component of this. So always take advantage of any place that somebody is paying for you to go. If we were in Philadelphia, yay, I would spend an extra couple of days there. Anyway, question and answer time. I'm going to be quiet. Stephen, you seem to be monitoring the chat pretty good. What's up?
Oh, well, okay. So we have a question about can the scholarship funds be used for professional tours that NACA promotes, like I believe the one to Italy that's going to be taking place? Could the funds be used for that?
I would say yes, just right off the bat. If there is serious competition, once again, if you are a beef person or livestock person and nothing on the tour has anything to do with that, we may only fund you half of the $1,000 that you request. When funds start, when lots of applications come in, we have to tighten our criteria a little bit more. And we really want it to benefit you in what you're currently doing, or if you're moving into that area of expertise. It's not meant to be the vacation in itself. You're more than welcome to use it and stay longer or do more or that type thing. But what you put on that application needs to be professional improvement in what you are currently assigned, in your current assignment, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
We prefer that. That looks better. Administration likes that. If your administration is saying, no, we're not paying for half of that, then why would you expect other extension people to agree with that also? I don't know. With the amount of mileage and that type thing, we just say 50 cents right now per mile. You know, your food, we're not going to pay for $100 supper. We're going to pay for whatever the national, I guess, per diem is for that state or that city or something like that. So just, we all work for extension. You have rules in your organization. Those are going to be some of the same guidelines that we're using for funds expenditures.
So we did get a question from a state chair, and they're asking if someone has already submitted an application, but it needs more justification, is there any way to mark it incomplete and return to the agent to add information?
Yes. I'm not sure if the state chair can go in and do that modification for that applicant. That would probably be the easiest. Otherwise, we're going to have to get Scott involved and get him to kind of do his magic with allowing somebody access again. But we can definitely take care of that. And that's great that a state chair noticed. It's kind of like, this is a little weak. Tweak it. Yes. This is your time to fix everything that needs to be fixed and add more, or, you know, put in more, that type thing. So if you want to touch base with your, with the vice chair, I don't know what region you're in, and me, then we can definitely work on that and help you get access to or change that.
So a question about graduate school. This person's institution does have a staff discount versus the full tuition price. So they're asking which price or what cost should they put in? Should they put in the staff discount one, or should they put in what full tuition price would be?
We're not going to pay you more than what you spent. We're reimbursing you, or I guess if the university put it in your name and you had to ante up more money, something like that. But you're not going to, we're not going to bankroll something that you haven't spent. If that answers the question. So if
Donna,
yes.
sorry, this is Adele. I think it was really on how they should write it up in the financial justification piece of it. And so not so much that they were asking for additional money, but just how to include it in the justification was how I interpreted it.
Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So you just type, you just put in there in the description that the university pays for a portion of the tuition that is such and such amount. I am paying such and such amount, and therefore I'm only asking for the amount that I would be reimbursed. If it is going strictly through your university, it's just a paperwork trail. You can have the reimbursement can either go directly to you, or it can go to reimburse, the university or extension or whoever is bankrolling that. We don't care who we're writing the check to. That's not, an issue with us. So communication. We're not out to make this difficult or hard. As a matter of fact, we don't want to read 20-page applications. So it is a short, sweet type thing. Thomas mentioned you'll never get a better return on your investment. I totally agree with that. I have used up probably about 900 of mine that I have been eligible for, and that was probably 12, 15 years ago. The other thing that I wanted to convey was that an evaluation form will be sent to each of you through Scott, if you wouldn't mind filling that out. Also, a link of this recording will be on the site. So if you need to go back, or if you know somebody that was interested that couldn't make it, then they can view it again. So any other questions, comments, that type thing? Your vice chairs are the people that the state associations should be contacting. We have the June 1st deadline. Then the state chairs have until June 15th to push it to the regional vice chairs. They have from the 15th through June 24th to, I guess, okay it. Then we are on June 24th is when the vice chairs and I will meet via Zoom and judge these, because I am meeting with the foundation just before the conference starts. And nobody's interested in doing these meetings on July 4th and that the holiday weekend. Let's all enjoy our holiday weekend. So normally all of this happens at annual conference. We are looking at maybe potentially having a online scholarship auction. We're going to try and pull that together. It's not going to be like it has in the past, something simple that since we're all over the country, something that we can do as a fundraiser. Whenever we do an auction, the value that the item gets is what the donator has, as far what the item gets monetarily is what is put under the donator's name as being vested into the program. It's not the buyer that is benefiting from the scholarship item. It is the donor. So that has been an easy way for individuals to become vested. They were, how many of us, I hate to say, go to events and win something, or our speaker and say, well, gosh, this is great. I have 10 of these already. And it's a great auction item. So that may be a way of contributing. We're going to work out those details early in May. And that way everyone will have at least a month and a half to get those items maybe online for the auction. That's all I have. If we have any more questions, Stephen, then we can continue on. Otherwise, I'd say it's 1 o'clock for me. And we've done our hour.
Looks like we're all caught up, Donna.
Okay.
Just to add, Donna, I guess if anybody has questions afterwards, they can contact any of us. Not a problem.
Okay. Well, that's it then. Thank you, Scott, for hosting this and making us look good and sound wonderful. Appreciate it. Thank y'all. Vice chairs. Bye.